Hello everyone and welcome to Mistakes Were Made. This is a channel that I created to document our family's progress with debt reduction and eventual elimination. And we are going to get right into it because today we are going to be doing a budget with me for the second pay period in June. So that covers the 16th through the 30th. And we will be doing some budgeting based on expectations of how our first pay period in June is slated to end. We have not closed that budget out yet, but so far as of today, it is looking good for us to meet some certain goals, and that will have some significant impacts on how we budget out our money for the next pay period, the one coming up. So to that end, we are going to go ahead and get started. Let me zoom right in. Okay, so we're going to start with pay, and my partner, fiance, Mr. M, however you want to refer to him, pay is going to be $2306.83. And because he gets paid on an every other week basis, his paycheck actually came in last week. So that's why we know what the exact amount is going to be. If we weren't sure, we would be using $1,920 as our kind of guesstimate base, mainly because that's the lowest paycheck he's received since he got his raise. And his pay has been fairly variable, and so we want to err on the side of caution and make sure that we're not overestimating the money that we'll have so that we're scrambling later. Now my pay, those of you who are familiar with the channel know this. Hi to you and welcome back. But for those of you who are new, welcome to you as well. I did receive a promotion last month, and there's some speculation for my pay for this pay period. So what we're using as a generic, similar to Mr. M, is $2,225. That is the amount that I received during my second paycheck last month, which was the first month where I saw the raise that was associated with my well, I guess that would be right, promotion. During the first pay period or the first paycheck of the month, that's when, if there's going to be an incentive bonus, that's when we would see it. Last month I did receive an incentive bonus, but that was based on the month prior when I was at supervisory level, which is for sure one that is eligible for incentive bonuses. I am not sure if at the managerial level I will be eligible or not, and quite frankly, I was not at all expecting to get a promotion or a raise. It came out of the blue, and so I was a little bit kind of gobsmacked, and I was just like, oh, well, thank you. That's, thank you very much. And I didn't even think to ask a myriad of questions. One of those being, am I still eligible for the incentive bonus? If so, is it essentially the same incentive bonus as I was getting as a supervisor, or is it a different one? So my paycheck, which is expected to come in it'll be the 14th. It normally would be the 15th, but that's a Saturday, has not dropped yet so that it shows in pending. So I don't know what we're expecting. That probably will come through tomorrow, but even so, I will know for sure on Friday, and I can actually look at the pay stub and see, what is what. I would not be upset or sad if I am no longer eligible for the incentive. Yes, it would be nice to, every little bit of extra income is great, but if I'm not eligible, that's fine because I did get a nice raise with the promotion. So I don't want to be greedy. Miscellaneous income, we don't have anything for that. And Etsy, we do not budget any money there because we just don't know if we'll have any sales. And again, we don't want to overestimate what our income is going to be. The buffer rollover as well, we're just going to do $200 at this time. Though we have an idea of where things are going to land, it just takes one small unexpected thing to come through during the first pay period for it to knock the calculations out of whack. So we're not going to worry about the cents, and we're just going to do the $200. So we'll get our trusty little calculator here, and we're going to add to 2306.83 plus 2225 plus 200, and that brings us to 4731.83. 4731.83. Okay, so next we are going to look at our expenses. Our mortgage, this will be the second of two payments that we do each month, $875. We do not pay these particular bills during the first pay or during the second pay period. We focus more on these. That's based on their due date, and of course they're a little heavy on our variable utilities. Now, depending on when we do these budget with me's, we'll either know what the exact amount is for PG&E and Northwest Natural, or we'll use our standard $150 kind of generic placeholder. This time around, we do know what it is, but I think going forward, we're going to have to reassess what amount we use for our generic amount. And I say that because our usage hasn't really changed much from year to year for electricity, but we are seeing consistently higher bills. And that's to be expected because PGE did put in a 17% rate increase. So I think to make sure that we are a little bit more accurate going into this year's winter months, we will probably look at maybe September and look at all of our bills for a year back, and pick maybe the top 4 or 5, the 4 or 5 highest bills, and average those out to come up with a new amount to use as a generic cost for this, because the expectation will be just a little bit closer to what the reality is going to be than we have been so far with this one, with the 150. So case in point, we have actually received the electronic bills, it hasn't actually come out of the account yet, but the electronic bills via email, and PGE is actually going to be $158 and 36 cents. So $8 and some change over what our top amount we were thinking would be. So it's a good thing that we weren't using that lower amount for budget, because we always want to overestimate our costs but underestimate our income. Now that said, Northwest Natural, we are getting into the summer months, so we aren't using the hot water quite as much, or just using gas in general quite as much. The furnace isn't going on. It is a gas furnace. We have a tankless hot water heater. We're not taking, as long and hot of showers. For a long time now, we have been just using cold water for our washing machine. So we are saving by doing that, but it's not a new thing for us. Last month, I want to say the cost was like $63, so it'd come down pretty significantly. This month, it is actually going to be $46.55, which is very awesome. Very excited to see that. Now, waste management is an every other month cost, so not during this month, but during the next month. We have our standard $101 for Comcast, and then our cell phone bills going to be about $90. It might be a little bit under, might be a little bit over, depending on taxes and fees and stuff that they tack onto there. So let's add these together. We got 875, oops, plus 158.36. Oh, you guys can't really see that. Plus, and now I can't see, 46.55 plus 101 plus 90. So that's a total of $1,270.91. And if we subtract that from our total income of $4,731.83, that leaves us with $3,460.92. Now, something that we're going to have to make a decision about is going to be this water bill. I've mentioned in previous videos that they are going from an every other month scenario, like the garbage, to a monthly cost. We moved when we pay the water bill up into the first pay period because we were manually turning it into a monthly bill just to make things what we thought would make things easier and more equitable. With this becoming a monthly bill, we need to make the decision, do we want to drop it back to a second pay period and potentially put it on an auto pay, which is what we had it as before when it was every other month and before we were trying to, even stuff out. I think we're leaning towards keeping things as is. One, because I'll be honest, I'm cynical. I do not trust the water entity that we are dealing with. They've put forth a number of different proposals and changes that were supposed to make things more affordable for residents, and they did not. And supposedly this change to every month is going to be more of a help to consumers, which I can certainly understand that if you have a leak, you will hopefully notice it sooner. But they've also said that there will be savings. I don't see how that's possible. I will be pleasantly surprised if that's the case. But even still, they're also asking or suggesting that they're going to do a rate increase, as everybody seems to be doing. So, that's going to wipe out any supposed financial benefit to going this direction in the first place. So I don't know. There's a lot of things that they're saying, and I don't necessarily believe them. But before all those reasons, we'll probably keep it at as is, where we are manually paying it, and we're doing it during the first half of the month, because then that helps keep the balance of costs. Okay, moving on to savings. We do fund our emergency fund during the second pay period, $25. We are only going to note $200 here for the buffer rollover because we're not going to know what the actual cents are. And similarly, we're not going to know if or what amount we will have for any extra savings until we have gone through and calculated all of the costs that we are responsible for this pay period, and then determined what, if anything, is left over at the end of that. So the total here for savings is going to be $225. And we will add that to our income, which is at a negative. That's why I'm doing the add. And that will bring us to $3,235.92. Okay. Now, we do have our cash envelopes. We don't cash stuff nearly as many topics as a lot of channels do. We have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with cash envelopes. There's certain things that it feels like it makes sense for them, and other things that just, it doesn't feel like it fits right for us. So that's why we have the categories we do. Some of them we fund just during the first pay period, some of them just during the second pay period, and some of them we do both pay periods. So that's a little bit of information for anybody who might be new to the channel. So for the ones that we do fund, we are going to note them here. AAA, we do $15. Birthdays, we do $12. We do not do car maintenance during this pay period. We do $12 for Christmas. We do $5 for clothing, $50 for dining out, $50 for entertainment. We do not do anything for garden and yard. $100 for gas. We do $5 for gifts. Nothing for giving. Grocery gets $200. Health gets $10. Nothing for household. License gets $15. Pets gets $160. Prime gets $12. And taxes get $20. Okay. So we're going to add all this together. We've got 15 plus 12 plus 12 plus 5 plus 50 plus 50 plus 100 plus 5 plus 200 plus 10 plus 15 plus 160 plus 12 plus 20. Okay, so that gives us $666. And I know there are some folks who would not love to see that total. I am not going to worry about it. But we'll go ahead and subtract that from our remaining total here of $32,35.92, which gives us a remainder of $2,569.92. Now, some of the eagle eye folks who have watched our channel in the past may have noticed that we are funding dining out and entertainment during this pay period, which is not something that we typically do. And that is because this is my birthday month, as you may know, when I went and I got my driver's license renewed. And I have made the decision that I am going to take a PTO day so that we can go and celebrate on a Friday, and we are going to go to the coast and probably do some hiking along some various trails. We'll probably go check out the beach, of course, maybe some other activities, and most likely we will go out to dinner. And as everybody knows, going out to dinner is not a cheap event, especially these days. So we wanted to make sure we funded a little bit of extra money. Typically, we only fund during the first pay period, and it's $50 for each one of these, and that is expected to last the entirety of the month. But with the birthday piece involved, we decided to essentially double that. I can't remember if we've already used some of our dining out or entertainment funds for the month. We might have. I would have to go and check the cash envelopes. I can't remember off the top of my head. So potentially we could have, $200 available if we hold off on doing anything until towards the end of the month, which is when we've scheduled to do our outing. Otherwise, we'll have what we have. I am kind of looking forward to this. I've mentioned before, I haven't taken any time off, any PTO days. I've had holidays, of course, but I haven't taken any actual PTO days since early mid-November. And that was a half day. So it's been a long time since I took kind of a day for myself. And that's mainly because I've been looking at the bottom line. I am trying to maximize the amount of money that we will get once the job situation is ended, so the severance and the PTO payout. And of course, if I use the time now, then I won't see it at that point. So that's been kind of the thought process and why I haven't taken any time. But people have convinced me, you need to take some time for your mental health. It's your birthday. Go have some fun. And so I agreed, and I was like, yes, I need to stop being a goober and go go use some time and have some fun. So we are going to go ahead and do that. Okay, now we are going to get to the debt section, which, as you know, is my favorite part. One of my favorite parts. And this one is going to be a little bit significant because of the ramifications of how we're handling this. So we are budgeting today with the expectation that we have and or will be paying Citibank off during the first pay period. Now, what that means is for the budget, we budget $800 to go to Citibank each month. We do break that up between the first half of the month and the second half of the month. So during the first pay period, we've applied $400, just standard budget amount, to Citi. That brought the total balance down to $850. The expectation is once we get through all of our costs and everything, if we've stayed on budget like we should be, we should have extra money at the end of the pay cycle, and it should be in an amount that the debt share will be at least $850, being able to take care of that. So with Citibank out of the way, it means that there's still another $400 that's part of the Citibank pay, budgeted pay, that needs to be allocated. So at that point, the decision then is, what are we going to make our new focus be, discover or reflect? So the way we look at it, there's multiple ways you can look at it. If you are following a debt snowball method, then the typical process, if you're just following it to a T, is the lowest balance is where your next focus will be. And for us, that would be Discover, because it's at $9,700 and something dollars, whereas Reflect is at it will be at $12,500 and something, I believe. Now, if you're doing the debt avalanche method, then you would want to tackle the debt that has the highest interest rate, which again is Discover, because it actually has an interest rate that is currently applying, whereas the Reflect card is on a 0% promo. So in both of those scenarios, Discover is the logical choice. We, of course, are contrary. We have a third criteria that we look at, and that is deadline. As I mentioned, the Reflect card, it is on a 0% promo. That means there is an expiration date for that benefit. And if we do not meet our obligations to that debt by that deadline, then all of the interest that has been deferred, it's still accruing there in the background, it's just not getting applied. It will get added onto whatever debt is still left on that card. So that's hit number one. Your debt has now increased, but it's a twofold situation. At that same time, the 0% piece of things will have also expired. So now, let's say the debt was at $5,000 and the deferred interest was $2,000. Now you're not only going to have interest apply on $5,000, it's actually going to be on $7,000, and it's going to be whatever the standard interest rate is for that credit card. So it's going to be an extra cost. Now, yes, it would absolutely make sense before you get to that point, if it looks like you're not going to meet the deadline, to then do another balance transfer, preferably to another 0% promotion, before you get to that point, with the understanding that you would want whatever fee is going to be required for that balance transfer, which there will almost always be a fee, is going to be less than the interest that's going to get applied to the account, as well as less than the interest you're going to be expecting to pay each month before you clear that balance. I can't really think of a scenario where the balance transfer fee would be more than that. So most likely the best option is to go that route. But the other thing to keep in mind is you do have to get approved for those. One would hope that, you know, you've been making progress on your debt, and so you would be deemed, you know, credit worthy, and so there wouldn't be any problems with doing a second balance transfer to, you know, another card or whatever. But nothing is for sure. And it's for that and many other reasons that we are going to make the Reflect card our new focus. So with that in mind, we still have our standard $250 in our budget that goes to Discover. And then we will be applying the $400 that would normally have gone to Citibank to Reflect. Okay. So this isn't going to change our budget any for the debt repayment. It's just going to reallocate where some of those funds went. We are not putting anything in the extra debt payment column simply because we need to get through the process. So our total is going to be $650. Okay. This turned off on us. So $2569.92 was what we had remaining. We are going to subtract $650 from that, which puts us at $1,919.92. Okay. Now we are budgeting $30 for my allowance. So we'll go ahead and subtract 30 from that, which puts us at $1889.92. And then we also have our longer term goals. Right now, we were doing junk removal for our current goal. The payment of $100, which is the amount that we have for this month, this pay period as well, came through and brought us to $450 during the first pay period of June, which means there is only $50 left for us to meet our goal for that particular item, for the junk removal item. Doing our speculation, using our spreadsheets and everything, we believe that there will be an overage of $50 in our gas cash envelope. That envelope is one, just like the entertainment and dining and the grocery, that gets refreshed during a certain pay period or during a certain time frame. Dining and entertainment, it's a month-long item, so it gets refreshed at the end of the month. Gas and groceries, those get refreshed at the end of the pay period. So at the end of this current pay period, we are expecting to have $50 extra. We are going to move that over into the junk removal, which will mean we will meet that $500 initial goal. So we need to determine where we're going to put our $100 amount that is already in our budget. And what we're looking at doing is we need 2 new patio chairs. The ones that we've had for a number of years, one of them, the seat completely broke, so it is out of commission. We cannot use it anymore. The other one is hanging in there, but the wear and tear, we can see it. Mr. M happened to be at Coastal Farm, I think it was, or maybe it was Tractor Supply. I can't remember. He was at some place and he found some like molded plastic, like Adirondack chair type chairs, which he liked and thought they were fairly comfortable, but weren't quite sure about the quality. The price was nice because I think they were on sale. They were like $25 each, so presumably we could buy 4, and if to fail, we still have two in backup. But I think we're actually leaning towards a couple of chairs that we found at Fred Meyer's. We love our Fred Meyer's, or Kroger, for those of you who aren't familiar with Fred Meyer. It's the same company. There were some there that were kind of similar to what we already have, and the downside though is they're like $70 each, which is just ridiculous to me. So, but that said, feel like that might be a little bit of a better option. So we're going to make, and I'll just, cross this out right here, patio chair. The new goal, which will get $100, and we'll only need to save up $150. And we're kind of hoping that by the end of the season, towards September or so, maybe those will go on sale. And so maybe we can get them for even cheaper. Also waiting, through the season will mean that maybe we'll come across a different chair option that is a good fit and is a little bit cheaper as well. But at the very least, we will be saving up $150 to go towards that particular purchase. And then we will need to come up with a new option. And right now we are leaning between that automatic kitty litter robot box thing, which is kind of spendy, or the yard cleanup. And I would like the situation with the cats and their little boxes to be a little bit better, but I have to admit, oh my gosh, the back portion of our yard has been taken over by ivy, morning glories, and the most insidious of them, Himalayan blackberries. And unfortunately, we have let that situation go far too long. We had it fairly under control until the pandemic situation came up, and we took our eye off the ball, and boy, oh boy, it is just a mess and a nightmare back there. And it is basically at the point where we are kind of like, I don't even know where to start. I don't even want to start. So our answer is to see if we can't find a professional, somebody who does this for a living, to come in, and if not help us eradicate it completely, at least give us a better, starting point where they like pull out a whole bunch of stuff, and maybe we'll be the ones that have to do some of the heavy digging aspect to get rid of things. But they'll have at least gotten rid of the bulk of the vines and all of that, and dealt with that issue. It is, every time I look at it, I get anxiety just because I know the longer we put it off, the worse it's getting, but it's just a lot. I don't know if I'll do another garden, walk through, but if I do, if that's something that folks would want to see for, like June, I can certainly wander my butt back to the back part of our yard and show you our shame. It is not good. It is not good. Or maybe just do a short where I show the wall of blackberries, because we do have an amount that we've kind of written down that we think it might cost to do that kind of cleanup, but we have no idea. We're not experts. That's not in our wheelhouse. We could be like really, really low. We could be really high. And I suppose if we put it out there, then maybe people that are in the landscaping business or have had similar work done would be able to give, some examples of what they ended up paying. Though I do know, every region cost tends to be different, and the size of the project will have an impact. The number of people on the crew and how long it would take would have an impact. And there'll be a lot of variables, but even a kind of generic idea of how much it might cost would help us be a little bit more prepared and more accurate with what we need to save. So it's something that we'll have to think about. But anyway, we need to get back to the process at hand. We have $100 here. And if we take that from here, that puts us at a total of $1789.92. Okay, so we are going to do the same thing that we always do. We are going to divvy this out 75% to debt and 25% to savings. So we'll do that calculation. We're going to subtract 75%, which gives us a total of $447. And then we will take that same amount of $1789.92 and subtract that 447, and that leaves us with $1,342. So that gives us a couple of things. So first we have our 447, which we are going to go ahead and note in here for the extra debt or the extra savings amount. We're also going to put the 92 cents for our debt roll, or for our buffer rollover. $200.92 is what we'll be rolling over. Why did I put hair on there? That's a little bouffant now. Okay. We are going to continue the practice that we were doing with the city and triage this even more. Again, we're going to still do the 0, 25, 50, or 75 ending for our main goal, which is the reflect. And then any remainder will go to discover. So the closest to the 1342 is going to be 25. So it'll be 1325 will go to reflect. So we'll do that. And $17 will go to discover. So we're going to put that information up here. So the total was 1342. And that breaks down to $17 for discover and $13.25 for reflect. Whew, so that is pretty darn amazing, if I do say so myself. I am very excited, one, because we are on the cusp of being able to say that city is out the door. Be sure to watch our budget recap video, which will be the next video that comes out after this. And then hopefully you will be seeing us make that a reality. But for this pay period, assuming everything goes correctly, now if something happens where we are not able to pay off city, we are going to have to make some adjustments to how we allocate this $400 and to what extent, as well as any leftover from the previous month for the first pay period, any extras that we have, and see how that affects going forward. So hopefully everything goes well and we can still continue to follow this, but we also have to be flexible and aware that changes can come through. But the bottom line is we are at this point expecting to put a total of $1,725 towards the reflect debt. And that's an amount that we weren't expecting necessarily to put because, we typically only do $175 total for the month towards that particular card. So this becoming a new focus means we are going to be hitting that as heavily as possible while the job situation is still ongoing. $1,725, that is definitely not insignificant. I don't think it's going to be enough to push us below the $10,000 mark, but we'll be knocking on the door. So that is it. That is our budget with me for the second pay period of June. I appreciate you taking the time to watch and see where we are going with things. As always, I very much appreciate when you put your questions, say how are you doing, any feedback, comments, things like that down below. Please consider subscribing if you haven't yet. We very much appreciate that as well. And maybe we will see you in the next one where we are hopefully going to be saying goodbye to City. All right, bye for now.